My name's Aaron Wardlaw, and I've been coming to Antioch for 10 years.
My name is Emily Wardlaw, and I've been going to Antioch as long as it's been a church. So my dad and mom are Jamie and Kim Miller, pastors of the church, and I absolutely love being a pastor's kid. It was so much fun. Just worship, grew up in a worshiping household, a lot of love for the Lord that was very genuine, both on the stage and off the stage. The church started when I was 2, and it was in a golf course conference center in Grapevine.
We'd get there early and we would unload everything, and then we would set up the different classrooms, and then we would tear them down at the end of the church service. So everyone had a different responsibility.
We want to participate. We want to be a part. For us to come early and pray, it's part of what it looks like to be a part of a church body, is to serve.
I'm Joe Gloria.
Mindy Gloria.
I've been coming to, it was Christ Fellowship, Antioch Church, since 1997.
I started about in 2003.
We've now been married 9 years. I have 2 kids. We met here, we got married here. For me personally, this is where I learned to be vulnerable. A lot of the relationships that I started are still friendships that have gone longer than any other friendships that I've had. You know, we've been through things like weddings and funerals and sicknesses. And
we walked through both of his parents passing and getting to see some of our church family travel 3 hours even on Christmas Eve to come and be with us. That is something I'll never forget.
We are the Knights, and I'm Todd.
I'm Jackie.
And we've been at Antioch 30 years. Jackie and I were just married about 6 months, and we decided that we needed to start going back to church because we had spent a season in college of not following Jesus, and so we were really trying to get some solid spiritual guidance in our life. And so we went to this huge church over in Dallas, had been there about 6 months, and we saw this couple sitting a couple rows behind us that looked like it was their first Sunday there. And so we went back and met them, and we told them who we were, and they introduced themselves to us and said their names were Jamie and Kim Miller.
We'd been in a small church where I was the preaching pastor, and it was like a little revival started happening. People started coming to the Lord. We started discovering worship in a fresh way, and that's really became the foundation place for the starting of this new church.
We'd already been in ministry for a few years, but just things began to become more alive, more real, taking up more of our hearts.
What God had for us wasn't in the situation we were at. For us, it was going into something that we'd never been in before. We didn't know any church planters. This was all new. We wanted to see church life like we read about in the Bible. And we just thought, man, what if? What if we got to do this?
We started this prayer meeting that lasted about a year, and we'd meet every week for several hours. Out of this prayer meeting is where the vision for seeing a new way to do church kind of came out of that.
It's like prayer meetings every Tuesday night at my parents' house for hours at a time, calling down heaven, radical living, giving away money and furniture, and people selling their homes in Grapevine and moving to Fort Worth. Mom and Dad said it like, hey, you might not go to, East Asia or Africa to be a missionary, but would you consider moving your family 45 minutes down the highway and letting that be kind of your mission fields?
We had 11 other friends and their children, so we had 13 adults and 14 children, and we started in a house and went from there.
The church should reproduce and multiply, and so new disciples, new life groups, new churches, new congregations, and still it was an integral part of the vision back then, and it remains so today. We want to be a multi-ethnic, epicenter, life-giving, multiplying, reproducing, Christ manifesting, Father's love receiving, Holy Spirit empowered church. Come on. I mean, Milke Mark Muffler Hessek, that's the acronym if you need it.
We just didn't want to be set in our ways and just kind of not receiving input from the Lord or from the outside, or we wanted to raise up our children. We want to make a difference in the next generations, and not just get kind of stuck and just think that is the way we should be from here on.
Yeah, our first location to meet in Fort Worth was at the Boys Choir building, which was off of River Glen, and we would have to get there early, and we had several teams that we would rotate through each Sunday. I had to set up all the sound, all the audio, all the stage equipment, overhead projector that we had at the time, and just get it all ready for Sunday morning. After the service, had to stay and undo it all at the end. So it was a full day for sure, but it was fun. It was a time of really building community, building relationships with those that we were serving with. That same mentality, that same spirit of serving and blessing the church and working together to make things happen is critical. It takes all of us playing our role.
This is the place where we, kind of put a stake in the ground and said, we're gonna follow Jesus, and we were just really committed to seeking the Lord, and we've done that, and it has changed our lives.
I came to visit my brother one day, and he was like, hey, there's this thing happening that are called life groups. And that was the first time where I was in a place where I really saw young people passionate for Jesus and running after Jesus, and I was like, I want to be a part of that. I think something about my church in the past that I saw at Antioch that I was looking for was a heart for missions, and I clearly saw that right off of the bat. I mean, as soon as you get to Antioch, they talk about the Awaken trip for college students, where we go out and we do outreach, and kind of learning what outreach was like. Going on these trips have really grown my walk with the Lord. And so I think that passion for missions, not only missions internationally, but also seeing our campus as a mission field and kind of talking about ways where we can cause a revival on campus was something that was so different that I hadn't heard about in that context, even if like, hey, I don't need to wait until I'm like 20 something, 30 something in order to go on the mission field, but I can do that right now as a college student.
Sometimes we see them as you have to go out, you have to make a big change in your life. We're in Fort Worth right now, and this is a mission. We're on the mission field right now. I think a big thing is being loving towards the people. Jesus is a loving God. He is the God of love. And if we are loving towards our community here in Fort Worth and even out in the nations, that's simply a seed planted. We were raised on the mission field. We came to Antioch in 2011.
I think one of my biggest memories from Antioch is life groups. They've kind of been a really big constant in my life. Being able to just have a really strong community. Most of my friends I would make through life groups, and personally I get really scared when meeting new people, and I don't really know how to or invite them to church or tell them about Jesus, and it's always been a struggle for me. But being able to be raised in a family that's very focused on mission and outreach has really helped me grow into someone who is able to reach out to people without fear or hesitation.
And I think Antioch in specific is really good with observing the people who feel like they're outcasts, bringing those people in, pouring into them, getting into a discipleship relationship. And out of that moment, being able to do life together just makes the college life so much richer. And I would hear my brother talking about his church community here and how great it was, and going to trips like Awaken in Tijuana. And it was so interesting to come and experience it for myself. And I think that has completely changed my relationship with my brother. And it's just so awesome to see how a church community can do that. So I think Antioch was something that was so, such a blessing to our family, because it was a place where my brother and I found our community, we found our friends, we felt like it was family here away from home.
There's vision here for being beyond just being here on Sunday morning and worshiping the Lord, which is a wonderful thing to do. But there's vision for much, much more than that. Whenever there was a disaster, there were Antioch people there. Whether it was the 2006 tidal wave that hit Indonesia, the earthquake that hit Haiti, or now when we are encountering people who are burdened by human trafficking, there's Antioch people running into those places.
We talk a lot about being a people who have a passion for Jesus and his purposes in the earth. And that banner statement marks everything that we do. We didn't want to be people who tasted heaven and then were content to just wait until the day that Jesus called us home, but said, no, his kingdom come, his will be done on earth as it is in heaven today. How can I be part of Jesus's prayer for the earth? And that was the standard that was set.
It's about discipleship. It's about meeting together in communities, It's about going when God says go. It's about living out the Bible and what Jesus calls us to do in every part of our lives, whether that's in the business world or as educators or in government or in healthcare, whatever. Because God needs his people everywhere.
When we lived in North Africa, we actually were really close with the Antioch team that was there, even though we were part of a different organization. When we came back and we found out there was an Antioch near where we were going to be living, we were like, we've got to go check it out. We've got to be a part of that because we've seen how their teams operate and we wanted to be a part of that.
I think Antioch Fort Worth just provides so much support and so much pastoral care that other organizations don't provide, that they see you as an individual and a person, and they want you to walk in the fullness of who God has called you to be. And so their heart's desire is for you as an individual to know God, to walk with God, and then to be obedient to God. And they do it with such love and compassion and grace. Say, okay, what is God calling you to? I want to support you in that. I want you to go harder and faster than I can go, and just give you such vision for what God is calling you to. Our life groups are such an example of community and mission. That's why we joined Antioch, a life group. We got plugged into a life group, and the people surrounded us. They prayed for us. They walked through healing with us. They supported us in having our first kid when we had no idea what we were doing.
We're all ministers of the gospel, is what it comes down to. Like, we've somewhere along the line, as the Big C Church, have separated. You either work for a church and you're a minister of the gospel, or you're a business person in the marketplace. We're all the same. We're all ministers of the gospel, and we should be doing church everywhere in the city at all times.
I've learned so much about ministry, of loving people, helping people work through things. It's built me as a businessman too. Well, it's been built inside of us. We would have never gotten this richness outside of the church. You know, our heart now is like, how many people can we help to get in on this? The blessing that is the community of God.
I have been at Antioch for about 1.5 years now. So we did meet in the venue first couple of Sundays and then the parking lot services. You know, I got plugged into a life group while we were still in the parking lot. Many times I'm surprised that I've only been here 1.5 years because so many of the people here, I feel like I've known them my whole life. But it's also just in ways that I feel like I've been just stirred and drawn deeper in just my walk with God this whole time. There's nothing like getting together at life group and somehow you guys find yourselves just on your faces praying, learning more of who God is, believing him for more. I just look forward to a future where I get to see him even more than I see and know him now. But knowing that is nurturing and tilling ground for whatever he has in the future. So either way, I don't know what that looks like, but I'm excited about it because he goes way past my expectations and whatever I may be expecting. He just blows it out of the water.
There was such a simplicity about Christ Fellowship when we first came, and I think that really, even though we've seen so many different changes through Christ Fellowship, becoming Antioch Fort Worth, in our new space, all those things, I think that simplicity of love for Jesus and desire to be in the presence of God has really stayed the same.
I think even just being shoulder to shoulder with people who have, been through highs and been through lows and are still passionately following Jesus and more in love like now than they were decades ago.
Something that's so unique about Christ Fellowship Antioch that has always been this way, and we've fell in love with this immediately, is that it feels like such a family. There is such a unique representation of so many different stages of life and walks of life, and see the way people have risked and chosen to have faith for things. It created expectancy in our heart to want to live that way.
We had a group of college friends who we had all prayed at the end of college, hey God, would you send us somewhere in the world? And we all had a heart for missions. And so over the next 4 or 5 years after we graduated, we'd gather and pray and ask God, is now the time? And after 5 years, we really felt like the Lord said, yes, now's the time. And so we prayed. We really wanted to be in a local church that had a training school, a discipleship school. And so the Lord brought us to Christ Fellowship. We all left the jobs we had, the cities we were in, finished grad school, and moved to Christ Fellowship. We came because we thought we would go overseas. We thought we would church plant. And as the discipleship school carried on in those first 2 years that we were here, teams began to form to go overseas. And every time we would pray and fast and ask the Lord, should we go to Thailand, Lord? We had dear friends on every team. Should we go to Croatia, Lord? Should we go to Hawaii, Lord? These were the first church plants. And each time the Lord said no, we literally heard him say, don't bother. You're not going. I've called you here. I've called you to this church in this time. It's just an exciting time to be at Antioch. We feel like the best is yet to come, and we're excited.
It's part of the culture here is that we're always growing in worship. And so, I think I was just drawn to the culture that had already been set of just not holding back.
I am just so excited to have my kids grow up in this. If this is their experience of church, community, people who really love Jesus, who are open and vulnerable, who are walking out life together, who are choosing to press into hard things, who are choosing to reconcile with each other. I mean, that's about as beautiful of a picture of the body of Christ as I think you can get. Broken people trying desperately to follow Jesus together, and if they can see that, then they're gonna be okay. I mean, I think Jesus is gonna grab their hearts regardless. But man, I want them to see church like this.
When we said yes to being part of the church, there was no way for us to say yes to 30 years at that time. It was just saying yes to what was in front of us at the moment. But we just had to keep saying yes over and over and over again. And even as the church has moved locations a few times during its 30-year history, every time we've had to go seek God and go, Lord, I know you told us to do this the last time, but what does this mean now? And the last time we moved the church to Fort Worth, it meant us moving our business, selling our home. That was one of the hardest things we've ever done, and without question, one of the most exciting things that's ever happened in our life. Once you've shared enough life with a group of friends, you go from just being friends to being family. And that's what's happened with us at this church.
We are all shaped and formed by our relationships. I mean, we can't say who we are apart from those relationships. We're brought into the world through relationships. We're nurtured through relationships.
As long as we will continue to be a body of believers that just keep pressing towards the Lord, practicing following Him, showing each other what that looks like, that actually then begins to show people around us what that looks like, that we'll continue to be a life-giving church that the world needs.